It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon in Seattle. The skies were gray, as usual, and a soft drizzle painted the city's windows in slow, melting streaks. In a leafy suburban neighborhood just outside the city center, Claire Morgan sat alone in her upscale craftsman-style home. Claire was in her early 40s, beautiful, graceful, and often mistaken for someone younger. Her husband, Daniel Morgan, was a successful tech consultant who spent more time in Silicon Valley than at home. Their marriage had turned into more of a polite partnership, shared bills, shared bed, but little else. Daniel was always traveling, always busy. That day, Claire had the house to herself. She just stepped into a hot shower, letting the steam melt away the tension she couldn't explain. Ding-dong. The doorbell rang. Outside stood Jake Miller, a 23-year-old delivery guy from a local courier service. A college dropout trying to find his place, Jake was tall, lean, and carried that quiet charm only someone with a story could possess. He rang again. No answer. The front door, unexpectedly, was unlocked. He stepped in hesitantly. "Hello? Delivery for Claire Morgan," he called. No reply. As he moved down the hallway, he heard the shower still running. The bathroom door, slightly ajar, let out wafts of steam. And through the fogged glass of the shower, he saw her, a silhouette behind the curtain, unaware of him. He froze, stunned, panicked. Just as he turned to leave, the bathroom door opened. Claire stepped out, wrapped in nothing but a towel, her hair wet, skin glowing from the heat. She gasped when she saw him. "What the hell?" I'm sorry," Jake stammered. "The door was open and I knocked. I didn't mean to, I'm so sorry." Claire clutched her towel tighter, but didn't scream. She looked at him, really looked, and saw a young man, awkward, sincere, nervous. Something about that moment cracked the cold silence in her chest. "It's fine," she finally said, taking the parcel. "Just knock next time." They both smiled awkwardly. The spark. Over the next month, Claire started ordering more packages, yoga mats, organic candles, coffee beans, none of which she really needed. She just wanted to see Jake again. Each time he came, the conversations got longer. A glass of water became a cup of coffee. A few minutes at the door turned into sitting on the porch, talking about life. Jake told her about his dreams of going back to school, his complicated past, and his love of photography. Claire talked about her loneliness, her love of literature, how she once wanted to be a writer before life swept her in another direction. There was an unspoken pull between them, an age gap, yes, but something deeper. A feeling of being understood. One evening, during a thunderstorm, Jake arrived soaked to the bone. Claire insisted he come inside to dry off. She handed him a towel, and as their hands touched, time froze. A moment later, they kissed. More than a secret, their meetings grew more frequent. They'd spend afternoons curled up on the couch, watching old movies, sharing inside jokes, sipping wine. Claire started smiling again, really smiling. Jake brought her red roses on Fridays. She wrote him little notes and tucked them inside books he'd borrow. They were careful, but not afraid. They weren't just lovers, they were friends. Confidants. He made her feel young. She gave him hope. They never talked about the future. Just the now. The shocking twist. One weekend, Daniel returned early from San Francisco. His meeting had been canceled, and he thought surprising Claire would be a romantic gesture, something to help mend the growing distance. He stepped into the house quietly. "Claire," he called. No response. As he walked toward the bedroom, he heard soft laughter, hers and someone else's. He opened the door. There they were, Claire and Jake, lying on the bed, laughing, sharing a glass of wine. The roses Jake brought that morning lay scattered on the nightstand. Daniel's expression changed in a flash, from shock to fury. "Claire," he said slowly, "what the hell is going on?" Claire sat up, stunned. Jake stood quickly. "It's not what you think," Claire said, her voice cracking. "Oh, it's exactly what I think," Daniel snapped. "You're sleeping with a delivery guy in our bed?" Jake tried to speak, but Claire stopped him. She turned to Daniel. "You were never here. I was lonely. I needed someone to talk to, someone who saw me. I gave you everything." Daniel yelled. "No," she whispered. "You gave me a house, not a heart." Daniel stormed out. Epilogue. Claire moved out 2 weeks later. Daniel filed for divorce. Jake lost his job at the delivery company, but he didn't care. He and Claire tried to keep the romance going, but life began to creep in. The excitement faded. Claire missed her stability. Jake began to feel out of place in her world. They ended things gently, quietly. Months later, Claire started writing again, short stories, based on real feelings. One story, titled When the Bell Rang, won a local competition. Jake? He enrolled in a photography program in Oregon, and one of his first projects was a photo essay on unseen connections. They never spoke again, but both of them, in their own way, would always remember that one wild chapter, where love came ringing at the door and changed everything.